Hello my loves, what is up and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well, having yourselves a good day. We are sitting down today and filming a good old-fashioned juicy money chat video, talking all things personal finance, some of my favorite videos to film. I talk a lot about personal finance, obviously in my monthly resets I go over my budget, but I also talk a lot about goals. Or I know half an hour has passed and there's only so much I can cram into a video before getting into like the nitty gritty and like the systems and things that I have in place to actually achieve those goals. So that's what this video is going to be. We're going to be talking about our current financial goals that I've set for 2026, but also beyond that, kind of looking at the bigger picture. I did touch on these in my 2026 financial reset, but I'm also talked about the thought process behind them. So if you want to see that, like what led us to actually making those our goals, then go watch that video. This is just what we're choosing to focus on at the moment, and this is exactly how we plan on achieving them. I think it's one thing to set a goal, but like, how do you actually plan on getting there? I would like to pick your brain about that. So that's exactly what this video is, talking about the systems, the habits, like the mindset that we are implementing or trying to implement, especially over the next 12 months. Sorry, I feel like I've got a hair on my face. Isn't that the worst feeling? Oh. Also, sorry if I get progressively sweatier throughout this video. I'm heavily pregnant. It's like 35 degrees outside. I am in all sorts. Also, don't mind the shrine behind me. When we put this up for our baby shower, it looked beautiful. All our baby photos, so cute, so wholesome. Nick's parents understandably wanted his baby photos back, and now I just have mine up there and it looks like I've passed away. Anyway, enough rambling. Let's get into it because we have a lot of things to go over. This year is gonna look very different for us. We're stepping into parenthood. Our priorities have already started to shift, and with that, our mindset and our approach to money has become so much more intentional, even more intentional than it already was. The goals that we've set this year aren't about restriction. They aren't about perfection. We're not about that around here. You guys know, if you watch any of my budgeting videos, like we overspend, we underspend, we mess up. Like that's just life. Life really goes through ebbs and flows. We have wins, we have losses. It's not about perfection. It's about creating stability, or trying to create stability in this current climate, and just having intentionality. I think more than anything, like actually having a focus, striving to reach these goals and set our family up for a successful future, but also having fun along the way and living life in balance. We have three main money focused pillars for 2026. The first is our home and mortgage. The last few years we've set pretty hefty mortgage payoff goals, and that's still a focus this year, even with us becoming parents. Still something that we want to, slowly chip away at, hopefully work towards owning our own home outright one day. Second pillar is travel. I love travel. I'm a former travel agent, so it's a big money value for me, and it's an area in our budget that's like not a necessity that we feel adds value to our life. We have so many beautiful memories, especially over the last few years. We've been able to do so much amazing, incredible travel, some work related for like social media, which has been such a blessing. Like honestly, one of the best perks of this job, but also trips we've just planned ourselves. And it's just been the best. Like I feel so fortunate that we have that money, or that we prioritize spending that money on travel, because we could just spend it willy-nilly on other stuff. But for us, travel and saving for travel is so important, and it's something that we would still really like to do even with baby boy in tow. And then our third money focused pillar this year is savings and just investing for the future security, I guess you could say. We are both turning 30 this year, which is terrifying. My husband before me, he's 6 months older, 6 months and 2 days older, and I don't let him forget about it. So he's about to turn 30. I will be 30 at the end of this year. And we understand the importance of investing now and investing in our future whilst also trying to hit our other financial goals. This is like the time to do it, is in your 20s and 30s. The earlier we invest, the more time our money has in the stock market and compound interest, etc., etc. So these are our years. These are our years, Kendall. Also, we'll say things can change. Like we might completely scrap one of these goals in 2 months from now and realize that it's just not a value of ours, and that's totally fine. Something I've gotten so much better at. I used to be so rigid with my goals. I used to set a goal at the beginning of the year and be like, that's it. Can't change it. Pen on paper. It's Bible. I cannot stray from this goal. I mean, it's not realistic, and it's not helping anyone. 12 months goes by really fast, but also a lot can change in 12 months. You as a person, your goals, your values can change significantly, and I think it's okay to deviate from that and to just change things up. Like if something isn't important to you anymore, then scrap it. Scrap away. Anyway, with that being said, let's get into our current goals and talk through them and how we actually plan on achieving them. The systems, the habits, how we plan on doing it. So first goal, this is specific to this year. We want to pay off an extra $30,000 of our mortgage. Last year we set the goal of $50,000. We managed to achieve that. And then I think the year before it was $20,000 after we paid off our car loan. So we paid off our $18,000 car loan. And then for the last 6 months of 2024, we paid an extra $20,000 on our mortgage. So this has been like quite an aggressive goal, something that we've really been chipping away at over the last few years. The reason we've lowered it from 50,000 to 30,000 this year is obviously with us entering this new era in our lives, becoming parents. I'm self-employed, so I don't plan on working at the same capacity as I was last year. My priorities, again, have shifted, and I don't know what my income is going to look like until we actually know what that looks like and until I know how I'm going to feel. We've lowered that goal to 30,000 this year. It still means that we're chipping away at it, and that $30,000 extra still has such a big impact. The website I use to track extra mortgage payoff is called Mortgage Monster. You kind of have to play around with it and figure out like your interest rate, how many years you have left remaining on your loan, just kind of play around with it to get that monthly repayment. Like that's pretty close to what we pay. And then if you scroll down here, you can add in extra payments. So if you have any money in your offset account, which we do, when I say pay off extra on our mortgage, and I've said this before, we used to pay it directly on our loan, but at the moment we're just putting it in our offset. But that money, like the sole purpose of that money is to pay off extra on our mortgage. If we were to buy another property, that money on our offset account would go towards like the down payment on our new house. There are certain tax implications, at least here in Australia, with if you were to turn this current property into an investment property later down the track. There's just like certain tax benefits to having it in your offset versus paying it directly on the loan. But we have done both in the past. I personally prefer to see it come directly off the loan. I find it so much more satisfying, and it means you can't touch it as easily. But yeah, we are putting an offset for now to see how much money that will save us. $30,000 lump sum payment, and you can see here it will reduce our mortgage by $128,091 and take 2 years and 11 months off the life of our loan. So 1 year of grinding, saving, putting extra towards our mortgage, $2,500 a month, which, you know, is a reasonable chunk of money. It's not nothing by any means, but it's so much more than $2,500 a month. It's so much more than $30,000 across the year. It's 2 years and 11 months off this loan and being 3 years closer to owning our home outright. So I love seeing that. I love using this website. It's one of my favorite tools to track that. So yeah, $30,000 we want to pay off this year. That equates to $2,500 every single month. We're basically treating those extra payments as like a bill. It's a non-negotiable, just kind of factored into our monthly budget. We are obviously open to adjusting expectations when baby does arrive, being realistic versus like being overly aggressive with our payoff. Our next goal, I should say my goal, some of these are joint. Obviously, like as a couple, Nick and I share 100% of our finances, and so there are things that we're working towards together. We're very lucky. We really align a lot on our goals and just like how we picture our life unfolding. I mean, that's why I married the man. That's why I'm having a baby with the man. I wouldn't otherwise. Like that is such a huge part of a relationship, is having those mutual goals and having that mutual understanding. We are in it for life. Like we signed on the dotted line, committed ourselves for life. And so even though things can change, like I think fundamentally our values and like what we want out of life are very similar and very aligned. So our finances completely intertwined. We share 100% of our money. It's not like his money versus my money. It's never been like that really since we started sharing. We're very much a team, work as a team unit, which is good. I'm glad that we have that foundation going into becoming parents. It's just like one less thing we have to worry about, one less discussion we have to have. Like we have operated as a unit and as one team for a long time. And so we don't have to figure that out as we navigate parenthood as well. But with that being said, although most of our financial goals are joint, maybe this one is more of like a personal goal. Although Nick is definitely on board. Our goal is to travel to Europe this year, and we would love, love, love to fly business class. I know. This is one of those bucket list things that I've just wanted to do for a long time. And I feel like now traveling with a young baby, like this is the time. We don't plan on paying outright, or at least not the entirety of it. We're going to use our Qantas points. We have accumulated quite a few. Whether or not we use that on just like one leg of the flight, or if we save them for another trip, I don't know. But we have points. We have points to use is my point. Despite popular belief, I was always one of those people that thought accumulating Qantas points was really hard. There's actually over 500 different ways to earn them, and a lot of them are just part of like my everyday routine, everyday habit. You can choose to earn Qantas points with everyday rewards when you shop at like Woolies, Big W, BWS. We've also earned Qantas points from our Qantas point earning credit card when we've paid bills, everyday purchases like coffee, petrol. I've also added the Qantas frequent flyer extra to my Club Jetstar membership, so that way I earn Qantas points and status credits on even more eligible Jetstar flights, which we use Jetstar for all of our domestic travel. And the best part, this is news to me, so I wanted to share this with you because I had no idea. You can actually use your points to book a Jetstar fare from as little as 5,700 Qantas points and as little as $27 in taxes, fees, and carrier charges, which is such a slay. Like $27, 5,700 Qantas points, take my money. They also have something called Points Plus Pay, which you can use on any Jetstar flight, including sale fares. Essentially, you can save money by using your points. You can use like a combination, whether you want to bridge the gap or if you want to use your points entirely on that Jetstar fare. It just gives you a bit more flexibility. They have a little slider on their website. You can kind of play around with it and see how many points will equate to this. If you want to use a combination of cash or points, so that's another option that we'll definitely explore, especially if I'm not sure if we want to do like a domestic trip before we attempt our big Europe trip. My sister is talking about moving interstate later this year, and so that might be an option for us. But yeah, point is we would love to do some travel this year, and we want to use points and like point hack our way there. And how we actually plan on achieving that, obviously continuing to accumulate points using our Qantas points earning credit card. We've got the Qantas frequent flyer extra added to our Club Jetstar membership as well. Also, if you're not a Qantas frequent flyer member, I will have a link down below if you want to sign up. It's free to sign up with that link, so you can start earning points. We're definitely trying to plan as early in advance, at least our airfares. The sooner we do that, the better. Also, off-peak travel. I cannot rave enough about off-peak travel. Obviously, it's destination dependent. There are some places where it's like, no, like pay a little bit extra, go in peak time. Like it's peak time for a reason, but there are a lot of places, or at least the places in Europe that we want to go to that aren't really weather dependent, or like the weather's not going to impact the enjoyment of our trip too much. So we're planning on traveling during those shoulder seasons, which we always tend to do anyway. It just kind of happens like that. I think because it is that much cheaper. We usually go away in April, and then October, like September, October is normally when we go. I also just don't love a crowd. Sometimes they're unavoidable, but where I can, I would like to avoid the crowds, the busyness, and the extra expense for essentially the same trip. At the moment, our travel plans are still very much up in the air. I think we won't really know until the baby's here and we can kind of figure out what we feel comfortable with. And I think even then, like every month is so different, every week's so different. But at the moment, we're planning on between like 4 to 6 weeks, probably closer to 4 weeks realistically, just because it's so far to get to Europe from Australia. We're thinking like September, October of this year. September, October, maybe November, which gives us like a good chunk of the year to save, continue to accumulate our points. But I've set an initial budget of $30,000 for this trip. So this will be both for Nick and I, and then obviously baby boy. I've added that to my savings and debt tracker, which is in my 2.0 spreadsheet from CoPlenty. This is how I track our savings goals and all of our different sinking funds. So we set the goal of $30,000, which is $2,500 a month. I think it's really important to break it down into a monthly amount as well, just to see whether or not it's realistic. I can see here, in order to hit our mortgage payoff goal, our travel goal, and also to save for Christmas and other gifts throughout the year, we need to have $5,400 saved or like left over in our budget. We currently have $4,859.77 sitting in our travel sinking fund, which means we have $25,140 left to save. And our estimated date will be November 2026, which is like when we're planning on traveling. As I said, $30,000 might be too much, might be too little. Don't really know at this point. I did a similar trip this time. Gosh, it would be like 2 years in October with Olivia. We did 3 weeks in Europe, and I budgeted $10,000 for myself, and I think I spent $8,500. I've kind of taken that figure as a good starting amount, doubled it because I'll be traveling with Nick, and then doubled it again because we'll probably spend a little bit more time, like longer than 3 weeks. So I feel like that's a good starting amount, and then we can adjust from there. Okay, moving on to our next goal. This will probably come as no surprise if you've been keeping up with the vlogs. I think I also mentioned it in my last reset. Our goal this year is to maintain our emergency fund. This is a big one. We are in such a transitional season of our life, and that is even further exaggerated by my husband taking on a new job. Super exciting, role of a lifetime, comes with a big pay rise, which is such a blessing, which in turn takes a bit of pressure off me in terms of my earning capabilities, being self-employed. However, it does come at a time when we are becoming parents. His new job offered that 18 weeks paid parental leave, which is such a huge perk, but you have to be with the company for 3 months before you take it. Obviously he won't have been there for 3 months, but it's still important for him to have that time off when the baby first arrives. So he's taking 6 weeks unpaid leave, and then that 18 weeks later on. Because of that, it's just at the forefront of our mind is our emergency fund and making sure that we're maintaining it. We added an extra $5,000 towards the end of the year when we knew that that was going to be our situation. We had a few months to kind of prepare. And so at the moment, our emergency fund is sitting at $40,000. It was $35,000 before, and that's an amount that we're comfortable with. Initially, when we built up our emergency fund, we set the goal of saving $1,000, and then that became $5,000. And then eventually we actually looked at our needs and what those were, what our bare bone expenses were month to month, and then worked out an appropriate amount. So we kind of built up from that, $1,000, $5,000, then we did a 3-month emergency fund. It doesn't happen overnight. Like you can't just pull this money out of nowhere, especially when you're just trying to live life. We now have a 6-month emergency fund. So this is basically how we worked it out. So I looked at my monthly budget, and we just look at the needs, none of the wants, just purely needs. Keeping in mind, when I have lost my job previously, we basically just cease spending all money. We try and cut back in almost every aspect. And I think if you're really in an emergency situation like that, that's kind of how you have to live. So we have our bills, which are around $13,000 a month. No, sorry, 1,300 a month. So 1,362. Subscriptions I don't include just because if anything were to happen, like we would just cancel them all. That's not really a need. And then we have our mortgage. So our minimum mortgage repayment for our home is $3,535.89. And then the only other thing that I would factor in is groceries, which I know we can conservatively spend $600 a month on groceries. I also like to factor in petrol, which will say $150 just to keep us going. So $5,612.61 is our bare bones necessities that we need. That is the amount that we need every single month to just keep going. We've then taken that number, times it by 6, so 6 months worth of expenses, which gets us to about just a little less than 35,000. In terms of our action plan for this one, because you know we're all about action here, this is what I want to talk about, is like the systems, habits, things that we have in place to achieve this goal. Maintaining it is like kind of a elusive, like it's not really a numerical goal. We're not adding to our emergency fund, we're just trying to uphold it, which is important to us. It's important for us to have an emergency fund. It alleviates so much financial uncertainty and anxiety. I think in order to maintain it this year, we really just need to continue utilizing our sinking funds. These are the sinking funds that we've set up for this year. Some of these are sinking funds, some of them are just savings. So like our emergency fund, ETFs, that's like an investment goal, but travel fund and home fund, these are ongoing sinking funds we've had for a long time. Anytime we have home projects, like when we fitted out our wardrobes, we pulled from that sinking fund. Travel fund, obviously we now have that $30,000 budget. So every month when I do my monthly budget, we're going to add $2,500 to that sinking fund. Car expenses is more of a fixed expense that covers things like rego and any repairs, servicing. So we usually set aside about $150 a month for that one. So some of them have goals and some of them we have like a set amount that we set aside, and then other times it's just like more of a vibe. We also added a pet sinking fund in 2026. That's a new one for us. We spent a lot on our dogs last year, and so I thought it'd be nice to have kind of a bit more of a buffer. And that's why I love sinking funds. It kind of takes away all of that guilt. It's like, no, we've purposely set this money aside for this specific thing. We can spend it guilt-free. Takes away that pressure. We love. We got really good at using sinking funds last year, and so that's something I definitely want to continue, and I think that will help maintain our emergency fund because we're not going to have to pull any money from, touch wood, from our emergency fund. We will have these other savings and sinking funds to pull from if we need to. Next two goals are to invest monthly with ETFs and also have $65,000 in my super fund by the end of the year. I think the only way we can really achieve that is just consistently and regularly contributing to both of those. Again, kind of making it a non-negotiable, kind of making it a bill almost in our monthly budget. One thing we implemented last year, and we kind of did this subconsciously anyway, is to take a pay yourself first approach. So an example of this, we did this when we were planning for our wedding. We had an amount that we wanted to save and we had a deadline when we wanted to have it saved by. Every time we got paid, we'd make sure our mortgage was covered, our bills were covered, and then we would save and invest before anything else. Once we'd hit those savings goals and paid ourselves first, then we could spend the rest of our money freely. And that's really helped us. So I think that's our approach in terms of investing. Next goal is to donate monthly. I would like to continue doing this for as long as we can. Obviously, this doesn't have a huge action plan behind it. I don't have any methods or tools that I'm using to get there other than just choosing causes that align with us and our values and just donating regularly, making it a monthly goal. It's more so like the mindset. This year especially, I'm really leaning into the idea that money is just that, like it's a tool. I want generosity and giving back to be a part of our framework and to be a part of just like our everyday financial habits rather than just an afterthought. Then we have our no spend goal this year, which is to have 12 no spend weeks across the year. So on average once a month. I didn't specifically say once a month because I know there'll be some months where we're able to do 2 in 1 month and then others like this month where we're not doing any. I think in order to achieve this one, we just have to be proactive, not reactive, and plan ahead, look at our calendar, work out the weeks that will work best, those slower weeks when we don't have social plans. For us, a no spend week is us just not spending money on wants. We can obviously buy groceries, we can buy petrol. The essentials are fine to spend money on. I know some people take it to the extreme and they might do like a weekly food shop the week before they start. I just don't really see the point in that. We have to feed ourselves, like needs are fine. We can still pay our bills. I'm not going to be ringing up the bank being like, so sorry Dal, I'm having a no spend week. I can't make my mortgage payment today. So essentials are fine, but it's just like that frivolous spending. And I love a no spend week. I know some people find them restrictive. I've also rewired it in my brain to be like, a reset. I feel like it really resets our finances, resets our spending habits. It's just a nice reminder how little you actually need to live a fulfilling life as well. You really get creative, I think, when it comes to no spend weeks. And I find they're one of the fastest ways to make progress towards financial goals without feeling too restricted. I think reframing them from being a punishment to an opportunity to reset. One thing I want to get better about is tracking how much extra we might be saving. So maybe tracking when we might be spending money or might have thought about spending money throughout the week, or comparing it to the week before and being like, last week we spent $500, this week we spent $100. That's $400 savings. How much does that save us on our mortgage? Redirecting that money and actually giving that money purpose, or like investing that money, saving it, I don't know, just being a little bit more intentional about that. And then our final goal this year is to increase our net worth to 800,000. I did do a whole net worth breakdown video. If you guys want to see that, I uploaded that a few months ago. I'll have a link down below. Our current net worth is sitting at $648,318. This one's like less about the number and more about the direction that we're going in and just making sure that we're tracking and on a upwards trajectory. I think it's fun to like set some numerical goals. Net worth kind of paints the broader picture as well. And so tracking it, I usually track it every single month just to see that slow, steady progress. It's just cool to see how our financial decisions add up over time and how they affect the bigger picture, like our overall net worth. You can make an investment in something like in your education, for example. Immediately that might be a liability, that might be student loan debt, but then long term, if your income increases because of that student loan debt, you're able to invest more, you're able to save more. Same with like a mortgage. Having a mortgage is expensive, you're paying a lot in interest, but being able to see what those monthly mortgage repayments actually do, slowly chipping away at the debt, and then also like your property value increasing and seeing how much equity you have. Increasing our net worth to 800,000 kind of encompasses all of our goals. So paying extra into our mortgage, that's going to increase our net worth. Investing consistently every month, adding extra to my super, and just like monthly budgeting and knowing where our money is going and if we're happy with that, and being able to make changes and refine from there. Those are our current financial goals and how we plan on achieving them. I think hopefully more than anything this year isn't about chasing numbers, but really being intentional. We want to create stability. We want to live a life of balance, still leaving room for joy and experiences and giving back, whilst also reaching our financial goals. Hopefully this video was helpful or like motivated some of you guys. If you're watching this feeling overwhelmed or feeling like you might be behind or whatever, let this be a reminder. Like, you do not have to have the perfect plan. You just have to have intention, systems, and tools in place to help support you and help support your goals. Setting goals is so fun. I love it. But the difficult part is the journey and actually getting there. So if you can break it down into monthly goals, weekly, daily habits even, it just becomes so much more digestible and it actually feels within reach. All you need is clear intention, small steps, a good toolkit, good systems in place, and you're Gucci. You've got it. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited for this year and everything it has in store. I can't wait to bring you guys along for this journey. It's going to be such an incredible year. If you feel like it, leave a comment. Let me know what one of your current financial goals are. I would love to cheer you on. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you very soon for another video. Bye guys.